The Attorney General. The Attorney General joins us this evening, and we have some very interesting questions that are coming up. One, the Police Commissioner out of the country at this timely moment. How do you feel about that? The Police Service Commission has reprimanded him. Would you do the same?
Well, I wouldn't want to trespass on the jurisdiction of the Police Service Commission. As you
but
know,
you must have a view.
I do indeed have a view.
And what is that?
I think it's most unfortunate. And
it's more than unfortunate, Mr. AG, to use a word.
Well, I would prefer to leave it there and say it's most unfortunate. The Service Commission is an independent constitutional service commission, and it knows what its powers are. It knows what its constitutional remit and jurisdiction is, and I would expect that they will treat to that matter in due course.
Well, it's the first time I'm seeing a softening of the AG, but the police commissioner out of the country at the time of a state of emergency, and reports that he didn't know he needed a visa to go to Brazil. Well, even that you must feel stronger about.
Well, that is a matter, again, for the Police Service Commission. It's not a matter of not feeling strongly about the matter. It is a matter of respecting the doctrine of separation of powers. If I make any comment on a matter that the Police Service Commission has to adjudicate on, it will be perceived as being prejudicial to the adjudicative process over which only the Police Service Commission has in law the power to deal with.
So remove your AG's cap. Well, what does a lawyer cap tell you to do?
The cap can't enter into the equation. It would be tantamount to me commenting on a case before the court.
Does the Police Commissioner have an obligation to inform the Police Service Commission, his virtual employer, that he will be out of the country?
I think he does.
But you don't know?
I think he does.
But you don't know?
I'm saying he does.
Okay, now that is... now tell me something. Limited state of emergency, national state of emergency. The Prime Minister herself stated that it's going to be a limited state of emergency.
The proclamation, which was made available to all in the media.
Well, we know the proclamation was made some hours afterwards.
Can I answer the question, sir, please, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you very much. The proclamation, which was made available to all in the media, signed by His Excellency, made it quite clear that we have declared a state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago. What we've explained is that the curfew which we've imposed and the areas that we've targeted for the paramilitary operations which we have launched have targeted certain specified areas in 6 borough corporations and 2 cities and 4 borough corporations. So what we have explained to the population, and I think quite adequately so, is that the entire country is in fact subject to the emergency power regulations, but there are 6 particular areas where we are concentrating our efforts which would be under curfew and subject to a 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. And that is the reality from day one.
We understand the reality, and we may appreciate that now, subsequently explained. But the Prime Minister herself at the very beginning described it as a limited state of emergency, so the country had a different perception of what it is.
Well, I don't accept that. I think that the country all over understood quite frankly, perhaps better than even you did from day one, that there was a state of emergency declared by the President in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know what about that wasn't understood, but what we explained, the limitation comes in 2 forms. There is no curfew that is nationally imposed throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
We understand it.
And further, it is limited to the extent that we have in our first instance a 15-day period within which we must go to Parliament if we wish to extend it. You may recall, for example, the last time a curfew was imposed during the 1990 coup, the attempted coup, and that was a nationwide curfew. We had, for example, the curfew in 1970 during the Black Power Uprising. That lasted for 2 years. But these are the realities, and I think we've adequately been explaining this every single day. If there is any misconception, I think it was clarified yesterday by the Minister of National Security, today by the Attorney General, and at 11 a.m. earlier today.
And I'm sure the country is grateful for the explanation because the Prime Minister did misspeak.
I don't accept that at all.
Well, you may not accept it, but it's a reality. She said a limited state of emergency.
And but
the fact is, what can the population expect now? It's the second night of curfew. The result hasn't been that much. 6 guns, a few people held on Nelson Street. Is it successful in your eyes so far?
Well, Mr. Kallipersad, it seems as though you have some preconceived notions about the state of emergency.
Well, no, I don't have preconceived notions, but I'm going based on what has been presented to us that has resulted so far.
If you're intent on interviewing yourself, I shall leave the set.
Well, you're free to leave, Mr. Attorney General, but I have a direct question. My direct question was very respectful, and I would ask it again. It is the second evening of the curfew. So far, there have been 22 people held on Nelson Street, 6 guns. I'm asking you very respectfully, I didn't mean otherwise, whether you think it is successful so far. I'm not asking myself the question, I'm asking you.
Are you finished?
Absolutely.
Can I respond now, sir?
Absolutely. That's why you are invited yourself here.
Without interruption, can I respond
now?
No,
I can't promise without interruption.
All right.
Please answer.
Well, let me tell you, sir. The state of emergency, coming on the heels of 11 murders in 4 days, and given the fact that we've had 22 persons arrested, suspected of being involved in gang warfare, is a huge success within 48 hours. 4 persons were arrested, 2 bandits were killed yesterday morning. We have had no murders in the space of 48 hours, coming on the heels of 11 murders in the space of 4 days. If you do not consider that to be an outstanding success, I think that something is wrong with the maths. But certainly, the large majority of citizens in this country consider the seizure of the arms and ammunition, the death of 2 bandits at the hands of the police, and the rounding up of 22 persons, in addition to a gun found in the Martin yesterday that led to the arrest of 4 persons, and 2 suspected of murder, to be an outstanding success compared to what we have been accustomed to in this country.
So you've answered the question, Mr. Attorney General. That's what I was asking for.
Because you've given me a chance, Dominic. If you give me a chance, I'll answer the question. But you know, if I don't get a chance, I can't. Is validly appointed as acting commissioner of police. I understand that there's a press release which was put out earlier today.
The Police Service Commission indicated otherwise.
Well, I can tell you that I have worked with the letter, and I'm prepared to make available a copy of the letter to be shown on screen. But this is the letter signed by the chairman of the Police Service Commission that validly and lawfully appoints Mr. Stephen Williams as the acting commissioner of police. Now, I don't understand why that press release was sent, quite frankly, but what I can tell you is that whatever hurdles there were, I believe they've been crossed, and it would be very wrong of citizens to assume that the curfew orders are in any way invalid, or that they're not subject to them, or they're not to obey them.
When was this letter issued, do you know?
Well, it's dated the 23rd of August.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what time of day this may have been?
As I understand it, it was issued today after lunch.
So, indeed and in fact, Mr. Williams was acting as police commissioner
at the time he signed.
At the time
Indeed.
But at the time of the declaration of the state of emergency, he wasn't.
No, I'm saying he was. Let me make it clear. I'm saying he was. And I'm saying further to that, I am advised that the Police Service Commission intend to regularize any misconceptions and to clear the air on this matter in due course.
So the state of emergency really only began at midday yesterday?
No, not at all. The state of emergency...
If he was...
There you go again. Can I answer, sir?
If he was given this at midday, and you said it coincided...
Are you finished?
Please don't be rude.
No, I want to make sure when you're finished. The point is that the declaration of a public state of emergency has nothing to do with the police commissioner. It has to do with the president of the country, sir. He is constitutionally the head of the republic, and he is the person that signs the declaration to warrant a state of emergency, not the commissioner of police.
We appreciate this.
Well, then,
but would it have been a case of any of his rules, regulations, dictates, orders being valid, saying that he was not appointed the acting commissioner until midday yesterday?
I'm saying that's not the case. Good. I'm saying that the acting commissioner of police was and is validly appointed as far as I'm aware, and that I have no evidence to the contrary. I'm saying further to you that insofar as the press release goes, the Police Service Commission, I believe, will clear the air on that matter in due course. But for the benefit of the population at large, the public must act in accordance with the curfew orders, because it is valid law. If they do not act in accordance with it, then I'm afraid they will be in breach of the law, and they will be detained, they will be arrested and detained. And that point needs to be made, which is why I'm here to enforce that point and to drive it home.
Mr. Attorney General, we really appreciate your making yourself available and trying to clarify these issues.
I'm grateful to you for your
Thank
time.
you for coming to the TV6 News.
And it was a pleasure interviewing you.
A pleasure. We'll be right back.
Why are you so